Good evening, I'm Security Consultant Kevin Osborn. Tonight I'll tell you a story that will end 46 years of silence and reveal a horrific truth where innocence collides with power. 40 years ago, little Alice was only 9 years old. What she saw from her window would change her life forever. Today at 85, the poison bottle we found in her home tells us a lot. But the real question is, the killer she saw that night, what position does he hold today? The answer to this question will rewrite this country's political history from beginning to end. A cold winter night in 1979. In one of Edinburgh's suburban neighborhoods lived little Alice, whose father worked night shifts as a shopkeeper. That night was no different. At 11:30 p.m., she got up to get water from the kitchen, but what she saw from the window ended her childhood in an instant, two men emerging from the basement of the opposite building. One was dragging a third person, mouth taped, and then, that sound, a single gunshot. Little Alice froze. Can you imagine what went through a 9-year-old child's mind at that moment? Fear, shock, a scene she couldn't understand but would never forget. But the real trauma came afterward. One of the killers, as he exited the building, looked up and stared directly at little Alice's window. They made eye contact. The man stopped, looked at the window for a while, then talked to his companion about something. From that moment on, little Alice's life became hell. The next morning, little Alice wanted to tell her mother about what happened, but the doorbell interrupted her mid-sentence. At the door, the police chief. "Mrs. Johnson, there was an incident in your neighborhood last night. Did your little one see anything?" he asked. Mother, confused. "What kind of thing? Anything? Sounds, movement, a stranger?" This is where little Alice's mother made a terrible mistake. "My daughter didn't see anything. She goes to bed early, gets up early." The police chief left, but that night when Alice's father came home from work, there was something strange about him. He was restless, constantly looking at windows, closing curtains. "Daughter," he said to Alice, "did you see anything last night?" When little Alice started telling what she saw, her father silenced her. "Don't tell anyone what you just told me. No one. But why? Why would a father ask such a thing from his daughter? Because 2 hours after that police chief left, someone else had come to the house. Evening, 8 p.m. The man who came to the door had no official uniform but had a very powerful aura. When Alice's father saw him, his face turned pale. "Mr. Thompson, did the child see anything?" Father: No, she didn't see anything." Man: "Are you sure? Because some neighbors in the opposite building say they saw lights in your window late at night." At that moment, little Alice's world collapsed, because she was listening to this conversation from behind the door, and the man continued. "Mr. Thompson, you're a good citizen. You think about your family. It would be better for all of us to forget and move past this matter." Then he pulled out an envelope from his jacket. "This is also my new job offer for you. A nice position in London. You'll move as a family, start a new life." Alice's father took the money. 3 weeks later, the family moved to London. But have you ever wondered, who was the person killed that night? Why was it so important that it caused a family to change cities? And more importantly, who was that visitor? Years passed. Little Alice grew up, got married, had children. But what she saw that night never left her mind. In 1995, while watching a news program on television, she froze. On screen, a newly appointed ambassador was giving an interview. That voice, that face. Alice's blood ran cold. She had seen this man before. 16 years ago when she was 9 from her window. This man was one of the people who committed the murder that night. But now he was a diplomat, a respected statesman. Throughout his career, he had constantly risen, held important positions. Alice didn't know what to do. Who would she tell? Who would believe her? And worse, who would protect her? Because she now also knew who that visitor who came to the house that night was. That visitor had also risen over the years, taken important positions. When Alice saw him on a television program in 2010, she again experienced that old fear. Both men were now at the highest levels of the state. one in foreign affairs, the other in domestic affairs. And both shared the secret of that night's murder. Alice kept these inside for years. She couldn't even tell her children because she knew these men were now untouchable. But in 2020, something changed. Alice's granddaughter was studying journalism at university and one day came to her grandmother and said, "Grandma, did you ever experience interesting things when you were young? I'm researching local history for a school project." That day, 75-year-old Alice told someone about that night for the first time, but she told the wrong person. Alice's granddaughter Emma was very affected by what her grandmother told her. And unfortunately, as a young aspiring journalist, she decided to investigate this story. First, she searched local archives, then examined newspapers from that period. And indeed, she discovered that there was an unsolved murder in Edinburgh in 1979. Victim: a local businessman named Robert Harrison. Reason for murder: unknown. Killers: not found. As Emma dug deeper, things got complicated. She learned that Robert Harrison was involved in a very important project at that time, a large trade center project on the Edinburgh-Glasgow border, and he had partners in this project, very powerful partners. When Emma saw the name of one of these partners, she was shocked. That name now belonged to a well-known politician. And then, the young girl made her biggest mistake. She shared this information on social media. She posted a tweet saying, "Researching 1979 Edinburgh murder and contemporary politics connection." The number of people who saw this tweet might have been small, but one of the people who saw it was very much the wrong person. The person who saw that tweet was someone I can describe as being at the highest levels of the state, though I won't give their name now. And this person immediately took action. Emma's social media accounts began being monitored. Phone traffic was listened to. Conversations with professors at university were recorded. And of course, Alice's identity was determined. In March 2021, Alice received a strange phone call at home. "Mrs. Johnson, I apologize for disturbing you. I'm calling from London. I want to talk about your granddaughter's research at university." Alice: "Who is calling?" "My name isn't important, Mrs. Johnson. What's important is your granddaughter's safety. She's gotten involved in a very dangerous subject." Alice couldn't sleep that night because that voice sounded very familiar. The next day when she called Emma, the girl was very excited. "Grandma, someone contacted me. They say they'll give very important information." Alice was very scared. "Emma, please drop this matter." "But Grandma, this could be a big story." "Emma, listen to me. These people are very dangerous." But Emma didn't listen, and she met with that person. After the meeting, Emma was never heard from again. After Emma's disappearance, things developed very quickly. Alice went to the police, but while giving her statement, she was met with very strange questions. "Mrs. Johnson, were you living in Edinburgh in 1979? "Yes." "Did any incident occur in your neighborhood?" "I don't know. I was very young." "How did your granddaughter's research begin?" That's when Alice understood. The police weren't trying to find the truth. They were trying to hide the truth. And that night when she returned home, the electricity was cut. In the darkness, she saw a shadow at her door. Looking fearfully from the window, she noticed two people watching her house. She couldn't sleep that night. When morning came, she made a horrifying discovery. The back door of her house was open. Someone had entered her house during the night, and in the kitchen cabinet, there was a bottle she had never seen before. When Alice saw that bottle, her blood ran cold, because the label on it was very clear: rat poison. Someone had entered her house and left poison in her kitchen. This was a clear message: shut up or else. Alice contacted me that day. The story she told me crying over the phone deeply shook me. "Mr. Osborn, I'm 85 years old. I'm not afraid of dying, but my granddaughter. If you could find Emma ... I immediately took action. I located where Emma was last seen. I examined security cameras, and I discovered the horrific truth. The person who met with Emma was that visitor who came to Alice's house 46 years ago. The same person, now much more powerful, much more dangerous. And Emma. Emma was no longer alive, but it wasn't Alice's turn, because I had now entered the picture. Emma's body was found in a forested area near London. The incident officially recorded as missing was actually a cold-blooded murder. And this murder was the last link in the chain that began 46 years ago. The reason for the 1979 murder was this. Robert Harrison had learned the real purpose of the trade center to be built on the Edinburgh-Glasgow border. This center would be built not for trade, but for smuggling. Harrison wanted to report this to the authorities. Upon this, his partners decided to silence him. One of the murderers is now an ambassador, the other is that visitor, now a very high-level bureaucrat, and these two people had been keeping this secret for 46 years, until young Emma emerged. After Emma's death, it was Alice's turn, because she was now the only witness. But there was something they didn't count on: me. The night we took Alice under protection, we collected very important evidence from her house. The fingerprints on that poison bottle led us directly to that visitor. But the real shock came when Alice showed us something she had kept hidden for many years. That night, in 1979, she had drawn what she saw from the window in a notebook. A 9-year-old child's scribbling notebook. In that notebook, she could see the subjects very clearly. The faces of two men, their clothes, even their car license plates. 46 years later, our experts who examined these drawings made a surprising determination. The drawings were so detailed that we could match them with facial recognition systems. And the match pointed to those two people with 97% accuracy. Now we had concrete evidence. There was one reality both suspects realized. They were about to be caught, and they decided to make their final move. Last week, the police officer guarding Alice received a very strange phone call. "Commissioner, I called from your superiors. We want to transfer Mrs. Johnson to a safer place." Our officer checked with protocol and learned that such an order had indeed come. But he was suspicious and consulted with me. That order turned out to be fake. Someone was trying to get hold of Alice, to silence the last witness too. That night we set a trap, and the person who came was the same man who threatened Alice's father in that house 46 years ago. Now I can give his name. That visitor's name, Michael Stevens, currently Undersecretary of the Home Office, the person who committed the murder, diplomat James Wellington, currently our ambassador to Washington. These two people killed Robert Harrison 46 years ago, forced a family to change cities, murdered a young girl, and finally tried to silence an 85-year-old grandmother. But there was something they didn't count on: a 9-year-old child's memory and drawing ability. Alice's drawings from that night set the wheels of justice in motion 46 years later. Both suspects were removed from their positions and taken into custody as of today. Emma's killers were found, Robert Harrison's 46-year-old account was settled, and Alice saw justice at age 85. Because truth, no matter how buried, eventually emerges from the soil. Let the message of this story be this: no power, no position is stronger than truth. It took 46 years, but justice found its place. I am Kevin Osborn, and I am honored to share these truths with all of Britain, and I promise you, as long as such stories exist, I will continue to tell them. Good night.